this morning, we are going to resume our series that we started several weeks ago based on the book, Discover Your Divinity, A Modern Guide to Affirmative Prayer, written by Reverend Linda Martello-Whitsitt and Reverend Deanne Weir-Morency. And the books came in, so after the service, and I think they're back on Amazon in stock, but on Amazon they're about $17, and I have them for $13 because I got them from the warehouse in Unity Village. So if you would like to purchase one after the service, please see me or someone who is going to assist me. And also know that, again, at the end of the service, Reverend Linda will be here doing an all-day workshop on the 23rd of March, and she will be doing the Sunday service on the 24th, and I'm super excited about it. So today, I thought the topic is evolving our understanding of God. So we've talked about God. So I thought, since there's been a little break in the action, that we go over a little bit of a review of what we have explored together. So first, affirmative prayer. And many of you have been with Unity for quite some time, or maybe come from another faith tradition or a new thought tradition. So it's not new to you, so some of this may be review, but also know that we get to live the truth we know, as Donna said, meaning that we get to remember, we get to embody it. Okay. So what is affirmative prayer? It is different, is unique, and it is even evolving within the Unity movement, hence the new book that has come out. And it's more the evolving in allowing us to be in congruency with truth that was presented to us by co-founders Myrtle and Charles, which sometimes got lost in the sauce with the language. So affirmative prayer is a form of prayer rather than beseeching or asking for something from some God in the sky out there. It is about shifting consciousness, our own consciousness. It is, and we do that by making statements of truth. And the highest affirmative statement is the I am, and we will get into that more powerfully in later weeks. So there are statements of truth, and the whole purpose is, again, shifting consciousness. What I hold in belief, thought, how I speak, how I behave, all reflect either the beliefs I know I have or those that are really deep down in the subconscious. So the goal is to be mindful, to be aware, so that we know what's running the show in our lives, right? So shifting consciousness from one of separation to that of the consciousness of oneness, right? We are all unique individual expressions, but we all emanate from the one source and cause of life. That's the prime principle of oneness, which we will review in a minute, which we call God. And it is also for us to shift from our human egoic conditioning to the truth, to be open to see something other than the facts are presenting in this physical world, to remembering the truth. It is also helping us shift from one of disempowerment to one of possibility and empowerment, regardless, again, of circumstances. You know, Vinny sharing about his friend and how he's living despite what's going on. And the dancer that we had watched, you know, he is demonstrating pure beauty and wholeness, regardless of him having his leg amputated, right? That is demonstrating the pure strength of truth rather than what we've been conditioned to believe is possible or is not possible in our lives. And here is also something very unique. Again, going back to what Donna shared, it calls us into embodiment, to live it, to be it, okay? It's an active prayer is active. It's not just words. Affirmative prayer calls us now to be it. Faith. What would faith be? How would I act if I was embodying, placing two principles, faith and life? Faith is my conviction and belief in wholeness, which is an aspect of the principle of life. Now, if I was doing it from the human level, I would think that I'm not whole because I walk with a limp once in a while because when my SI joint acts up. From my humanness, I would think, oh, I'm not as attractive because I have to wear boots all the time and I don't wear heels anymore. That's all a bunch of BS, right? But my mind goes there because that's part of some of the conditioning that I have been blessed with in this world about how a woman should look and what shoes are attractive or not attractive, right? No, it's an inner state. Wholeness is an inner state of knowing that I am a badass regardless if I walk with a limp or not. And that I am beauty and expression if I wear fuzzy boots rather than high heels, right? It's a state of mind when we choose to think in the pure essence of what truth is rather than what we've been conditioning. And it is life-changing. The embodiment part is life-changing. How many of you have been changed by choosing to be the presence, right? Life-changing. So that's why I'm so passionate about this form of prayer and not trying it from a little bit of this and a little bit of that, which sometimes we do. And there's nothing, it's just part of our evolution. Okay, so then we looked at, and is this off? Hold on one second. All right, there's more one way to do this. All right, so then we looked at, so this is all about the modern guide of affirmative prayer, right? There's the 5 steps that are slightly different than how they were introduced years ago. And the 5 movements are, I open, meaning I open from, I'm being open rather than seeing it the way I am from my humanness, like I just shared. I am open to the truth and embodying that truth. I'm open. It's just being open. God is, I am, I realize, and I appreciate. So before she goes into each of these movements in details, she wants you to have a firm understanding of New Thought foundational teachings, principles that are crucial in allowing affirmative prayer to be powerful in your life, okay? So one that we explored, the first and prime principle, which all other principles come from, is the prime principle of oneness, meaning that there is one original source and cause of all life. And we looked at God, AKA oneness. Another way to say God is oneness. Another way to say God is principle. We're going to look at numerous other ways today as well. So God is the sole creator and source and cause of all life, and no one or no thing that can be separate from it. We may be unique expressions because we, how I demonstrate the pure beauty of my soul might be different than somebody, I'm not dancing, or I may not be belting out a song, but I can express beauty by being the essence of compassion in this moment, being who I've come here to claim and to be, right? And that may change, but it's still the pure essence of it. And for us to know that nothing can be outside of God oneness. Everything is made, the fullness of God is alive and is the essence of you and of me. And so I want to go into what does prime mean, and we're going to go into in a moment review of what principle is in just a moment, but how do we allow things to come into expression is by tapping into, okay, let's go over principle first and then I'll backtrack, okay? So principle, prime principle, the originating principle, all life comes from oneness, AKA God. And what do we mean by principle? It is unchangeable, it is constant, it is invisible fact, energy, right? Myrtle and Charles Fillmore, at one point she called it, but they said it is not neither here, male or female, but it is source, all right? And sometimes Charles Fillmore called it, both of them called it is principle, called it oneness, and then also stated that many times it is the divine substance under all creation, right? It is something we cannot wrap around with our human minds, because our human minds wants to feel it, taste it, touch it, look at it, squeeze it, hug it. But all of us are God with skin on, so we need that. We can hug each other. But we also know that it's an inner experience, that when we are centered, right, in a moment when we move from that fearful place, okay, it doesn't mean that fear is gone from our life, to that, oh, I remember the truth, and then, oh, peace, be still. And it cannot be put into words, but I'm having, yes. I may feel energy dancing on me, this pure love. Sometimes it's indescribable, but we have a personal relationship of that. And we talked about principle being that values neutral, meaning that it's not good or bad, it just is. And we tap into it by the use of our consciousness. We co-create, or we create by the power of our consciousness. That our words, our beliefs, our actions all create a vibration and have the power to shape our world. And so we're going to review mind action in just a minute. But I want to review about that principle being value neutral. Okay, if we take it down to the earthly experience, we cannot see the principle of Ohm that controls electricity. But it doesn't mean it doesn't exist, right? And it can be used, depending on where am I in consciousness, for empowerment to light a room at night so I could read Discovering My Divinity, right? Or, depending on where I'm in consciousness, I could use it to wire an electric chair to kill someone, right? Value neutral. So do you see, when we tap into consciousness, God is a useful principle. We shape our world by the experience of mind action. And the mind action that we went over again are our beliefs, thoughts, emotions, words, behaviors that are persistently engaged in with fervor, meaning energized with emotion, have the power to create or experience. Thank goodness not every thought I have gets created. And on the flip side, wanting to win the lottery, that wouldn't be so bad either. But it's the consistent, the dominant consistent. And sometimes, though, consistent can be what we don't even realize is still operating in our subconscious, that I am not whole, I'm not complete, and even our image of the divine. So we're going to talk about that in a moment. So I want to go back to principle, and Charles Fillmore says this, and this is where we're going to go a step further in what we've already discussed, in opening to evolving our understanding of God, oneness, principle. So God is principle. According to Charles Fillmore, co-founder of Unity, God is principle. By principle is meant definite, exact, and unchangeable rules of action. From the teaching that a deity is a person, we have come to believe that God is changeable, that he gets angry with his people and condemns them, that some are chosen or favored before others, that in his sight good and evil are verities, and that he defends the one and deplores the other. We must relieve our minds of these ideas of a personal God ruling over us in an arbitrary man-like manner. Now we giggle. Now, how many of you can relate to some of these descriptive words as the childhood God you were introduced to? Anybody else? Any, I'm seeing some expressions, yes. Hell yes. Right? And even though we have a different concept now, I'm blown away by an exercise I did, and I'll get into that in a little bit later, that I was introduced to in one of my classes for spiritual direction. So, why do you think it's important to shift maybe that childhood image? And I'm not judging anyone. The whole purpose of what I'm trying to teach here, you can take what you like and leave the rest. I am just really passionate about it because these teachings have changed my life, and I've seen other people and changing their lives, right? So why do you think it would be important to shift your understanding of God? Vinny? Yeah, yes. So instead of seeing us as less than, Vinny said, it shifts our perception of who we are, because if there's one presence and we all emanate from that, I'm it, right? So it does shift that. Donna? Yes. Yes, absolutely. Powerfully stated. Beautifully stated. Absolutely. And so Anne Solomon shared this, and I'll read the quote in a moment, but that literally, the image we hold in our subconscious mind is different than the concept we profess. So even us as Unity Truth students or New Thought students or whatever, all these years, we may not realizing in our subconscious mind may be playing the image of God of our childhood. I was pretty blown away by that. So, I mean, I've done, shifting. So images are pictures, according to Anne Solomon. Images are pictures, not abstract ideas. They are a powerful combination of thoughts and feelings loaded with potent emotion that are often mediated to us in our formative childhood years. Our images of God, therefore, may not be the same as our doctrinal affirmations about God. So you and I may say, yes, yeah, I believe that God is it. It's not some dude in the sky, that it is the source, invisible source and potential of all life from which all things emanate. But we may not realize our subconscious may be still holding on to that image. And a lot of times I can tell when somebody is praying with me by the words that they speak. It's a little bit of both ends. A little bit of talking to the God out there and then throwing in an affirmation here. This is not meant, again, for judgment. It's just for us to have clarity so that we really can step into trying affirmative prayer in its power and its truth, okay? So there was an exercise that I was invited into, and I have been, really working on this, but it was also still nevertheless very powerful to me. So in the book, Divine, Discovering Your Divinity, Reverend Linda and Reverend Deanne say one way to help shift the subconscious concept that we're holding of God is by shifting our language. And I'm going to get into another thing we can do that was presented by Anne in just a moment. So let's take a look at what does it mean to shift our language. It's to shift using words that anthropomorphize God, meaning making it a he or a she, making it, personifying it. So when we say words like he or she or mother, father, God, or lover or savior, those are all ways we personify and reinforce that image of a deity or being. Okay? So I'm going to remind ourselves of chemicalization and meaning, like we have a belief system. Outside that is what is the adjacent possible. Oh yeah, I can see that. And then out there is where we chemicalize, where we're like, this is some weird stuff and this is crazy. And you can do whatever you want with it. But I'm just saying, see as we go along what may happen. If you're so used to saying mother, father, God, or he or she, okay, let us close our eyes, and I know he's going to provide for me. Do you see there how we can slip into that? And I think somebody, maybe it was you, Lindy, you said, I know the truth, but I go back to those old ways and prayers. I think it was you that said that, but yes, and anybody else can relate to that. And again, this is just about our evolution to look, see, tell the truth. Again, take what you like and leave the rest. So what they suggest in their book is to pick a name that doesn't personify God, right? So here's a whole slew of them. Principles, oneness, divine life, divine love, wholeness, first cause, divine mind, universal mind, the absolute, the Tao, beingness, the universe, divine presence, divine consciousness, unified field, quantum consciousness, the infinite, the cosmos, spirit, great spirit. What are you noticing for yourself? What's going on in you? Anybody? Okay. I'm not saying this is an exhaustive list. Okay. It's just not personifying, human-like name. Anybody feel that they can possibly are using one, or feel like Michael? Divine life? Yeah. Beautiful. Okay, so Michael uses the universe. The universe is, I am one with the universe is one with me. Nice. Prime principle of oneness. There you go. Anybody else? Anybody in the chat on Zoom? What if you want to add one of them that might resonate with you? Okay. Okay. Steve? I am the divine child of the great I am, the great I am, the great I am. Beautiful. Good, orderly direction. Okay, good. Yeah, yep. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So, right. So Lindy said that she wasn't raised with all of that, that we were taught, but maybe it wasn't an angry God or one watching over, but, maybe it was a deity or a Caucasian male, right? Okay. Oh, there you go. So that's it. Yes. So she didn't have all that baggage. She didn't have all that. So she says great spirit, right? Okay. Vinny, can you pass it? If you can say God. Again, I'm not trying to be the word police. What this is all, I really am not. But if you want to try to shift that there might be something possible underneath for you, if you're clear, then go for it. But it's an opportunity to go deeper into subconscious and to claim what you're really believing. So by all means. All right, so here was the exercise that Anne Solomon suggested. Again, that our concept, we may say God is principle, God is oneness, God is the great energetic source and cause of all life. Those are our concepts and beliefs. But again, there may be that discrepancy with the subconscious image. So she asks you to depict, you could draw, cut out pictures of what would be representative of your experience of the God of your childhood. And then she asks you to describe what would you like to experience, when you think about the presence of God, like how would, you could draw a picture or just describe it. And then she says, draw a new image. And then maybe when you meditate, to take the image in with you because it can go deeper. So I did buy a drawing set for myself because I think I'm not so good at that, but I'm gonna stretch myself. But here's what I did. So for me, childhood image, Jesus was synonymous with God, okay? God was an authority figure. He was a Caucasian. He was a male. And although I was taught the concept, God is all love, he's watching for my venial sins, all the sins, and going to confession. And then, everything about Jesus was, I felt so like guilty, like he died of suffering. So it was like, if you're a martyr and you suffer a whole hell of a lot, you're in good graces. So that authority figure and that suffering, who wants to like energize that? I know. So that was what was up for me. So the experience of the divine is this, me, having the same imprint, but it's expansive. It is inviting. It is presence. It is light. It is pure. It is pure love. And so when I see that, it lifts me in consciousness. Now, that may not be something that does that for you. And then this is a picture of the divine matrix in some of Greg Braden's work. And I love this because it represents the one prime principle on that core round circle of the sun, but many aspects of the nature of God, which we're going to get into, right? The one prime principle from which all principles emanate from. And so what are some of those other principles? Our 12 powers, right? That you're familiar with, or maybe not, but they're also called principle. And I want to share that how we can distinguish when they're qualities or human qualities versus from the pure possibility of the unchangeable principle. So in their book, Divine Discovering Your Divinity, they share this. The 12 powers or principles all spring from the prime principle oneness. All powers are inherent, yet all powers are latent, meaning they're waiting to be tapped into. They exist in potential and need to be developed, cultivated, claimed, and embodied to be useful. When developed, cultivated, and claimed and realized through spiritual practice, the principles inherent in the powers support our most inspired spiritual living. So they are latent. Remember, they're values neutral. I can choose to turn on the light. I can choose not to turn on the light. I can choose to use my energy, my consciousness, my thought in the direction of empowerment and goodness, or I can do it in service to my ego, and it is dependent on that. So those principles, all 12 of them, are all emanating from the one power and presence. So before I go over the principles, powers, which a lot of you are familiar with, I'm going to invite you. There's in the back, before you leave, there's a sheet. It's a double-sided, and I'm going to ask Matt to put it in the chat. On one side is a direction to do the exercise of the image of your childhood God, how you want to experience the presence, and then your new image. And I'm going to invite you to do that. And on the flip side are the 12 powers. Some of you may not need that, but it's there for a reminder. So I would like to see if I have 1 to 3 courageous souls that are going to volunteer to do the exercise? I wish you'll all do, but that you might be willing to share at some point. Anybody? Okay, I see 4 people here. Excellent. And anybody on Zoom? Okay, you can put yes in there if you're willing to try it. You are courageous, so thank you. Okay, so now I'm going to just go over to look at our principles that are value neutral. See, a lot of times we see them from our human understanding because they're all can be characteristics of our human experience. So faith is our power of belief, perception, conviction, expectancy. Understanding is our ability to comprehend, to realize, to have insight. Will is our power of choice, commitment, and willingness. Our imagination is to envision something that we cannot see, but we want to embody and step into its conception and embodiment. Zeal is motivation, enthusiasm, audacity, and devotion. And power is concentration, self-mastery, and claiming spiritual authority. That is the I am Steve spoke of, right? Love, spiritual desire, affection, magnetism, harmony, unity, strength, stability, courage, tenacity, order, organization, adjustment, evolution, release, cleansing, renunciation, repentance, life, animating, vitality, presence, wholeness. So just these alone could be, I know I do a highlight of a power for a talk, but at some point I would like to do a whole series on these powers because it's really an in-depth study of them. So here we go. Remember I said value neutral. Principle is value neutral. It can be used to empower or disempower. And that is dependent on mind action, how I am holding what I am holding in consciousness. Now, faith. We all have beliefs, right? I could energize my faith or my belief in what I can't do, that I will always be broke for the rest of my life. That is not what's up for me, but I'm just giving you an example because I know I share so much about myself, but anyway, I'm going to be, like we don't realize those are playing. Or I could use that combination with imagination where I can, okay, I have my belief in my worst fears, and now I'm going to use my power of imagination all day to imagine the worst case scenario, right? Power, mind, action, coming from my human consciousness, not right or wrong. We just look and see. Do I want to shift that? Do I want to open to another understanding, that to have faith in the absolute of all of these principles, right? That I have faith that I am life, wholeness, regardless of what's going on in my body, because God doesn't make SHIT, right? So that's what I'm talking about. So what I'd like to do for today, and on the back are those principles, is I'm going to have you look at this, and we're going to end with me doing a meditation, a guided, where I'm going to ask you to take one of these, one or two, and sense yourself, what would you look like if you were embodying them from the highest? Rather than having faith in the worst of my fears right now, where do I want to place my faith? And I'm going to combine that maybe with imagination and see myself doing something I love to do, right? Smiling, so on and so on. So I'm going to give you a minute to maybe take one or two of those. You could start with faith and imagination, it's just fine, or whatever else that you are wanting. And another possible exercise is depicting an image of you embodying that, as again, anchoring it deep within your subconscious mind, okay? That could be another activity of empowerment. Any volunteers for that one? All right, so let us become still. Let us open. let us open. We open by breathing, being aware of our breath, allowing our breath to grow deep and slow. And allowing our body to relax, sensing our muscles letting go. And with each and every inhale and exhalation, affirm, I open my mind and my heart. I open my mind and my heart to new possibility, to boldly embodying the I am that I am that I am, knowing that God is the prime principle of oneness. Omniscience, omnipotence, and everywhereness. There can be no place that God is not. There can be no thing or no one that is outside of oneness. So therefore, I know that I am. I am that I am. I am the very essence of God. I am the embodiment of all of the principles. And I get to choose through free will, centered in my divine nature, how I will uniquely embody faith, understanding, will, imagination, zeal, power, love, wisdom, strength, order, release, and life. And through the power of will, I choose which power or principle I will boldly embody. And I call it or them to mind right now. And through the power of imagination, I envision myself talking from that place, from the highest expression of that principle. Let me notice how I hold my body, the expression on my face. What emotions are alive as I embody the principle of my choosing? Is it hope, possibility, enthusiasm, excitement, peace, appreciation, admiration? And now envision what will materialize in your life because of naming, claiming, and embodying audaciously this principle. And noticing how You are animating through the presence of life, this image, in all that you do, all that you say, and how you think. For God is, I am. God is, I am. I am the unique expression of principle, powerfully expressing. And so as I take a deep breath, I sense gratitude and deep appreciation filling my heart and mind and body, for I fairly sizzle with enthusiasm to be the presence. Affirm that with me. I fairly sizzle with enthusiasm to be the principle, the presence. And so it is, and so it shall be. Amen. Sensing the energy of an animation and possibility. And I want to see you strut to the table today, or strut on the camera as you open your eyes. And as always, it is a pure blessing to be present with you. And I wish you the most empowered and blessed week. Namaste.